You're earning more than you did 2 years ago, but somehow feeling poorer. You're not imagining it. Today, there are 3 practical levers. Fix the leaks, use the tax system, automate the difference. Because the numbers are brutal, the RBA cash rate is 4.35%. Average owner-occupier housing rates are around 6.2%. Headline inflation is 4.0%, but housing is up 6.5%. Electricity is up 21.1%, and wages are only up 3.3%. So the spreadsheet says one number, your bank account says another. Let me show you why, and what you can actually do about it. Why CPI feels wrong. The CPI is not fake, but it is an average, and averages can hide pain. The official inflation basket includes things you might delay or avoid: a holiday, a new TV, a furniture upgrade. But your actual budget is probably loaded with things you cannot skip: rent, mortgage repayments, insurance, power, groceries, transport. That's why 4% inflation can feel like 15% in real life. Because your personal inflation rate depends on what you actually spend money on. And if the things you need are rising faster than the headline number, you feel squeezed even when your income has technically gone up. That's the frustration. People did what they were told to do: work hard, earn more, be responsible. Then the finish line moved. But once you understand the gap between CPI and your actual budget, the places to push back become obvious. There are 3 of them, and the first one is something most people only check when it's already too late. Number 1, fix the leaks you're ignoring. Most people hear budgeting and think, oh great, stop buying coffee. No, this is not latte shaming. The first lever is not about removing every tiny joy from your life. It's about finding the silent bills that keep creeping up while you're busy. Start with insurance. Car insurance prices rose 8% last financial year, and some providers increased new car policy prices by more than 10% on average to January 2026. Private health insurance premiums also rose by an average of 4.41% from April 2026. So if your renewal lands and you just let it roll over, you may be paying the loyalty tax. Not because you're bad with money, because the system is counting on you being too busy to check. Even if a comparison saves $40 a month, that's $480 a year. Not life-changing, but useful. Next leak: lazy cash. Some savings accounts look great when you meet the bonus conditions, but terrible when you don't. For example, Combank's Goal Saver had a 5.00% bonus rate from May 2026, but the standard variable rate was only 0.25% if bonus conditions were not met. On $50,000, that gap is massive. At 5.00%, that's about $2,500 a year before tax. At 0.25%, that's about $125. Same money, very different result. That is the bank loyalty tax. And then there are subscriptions. ING reported the average Australian subscriber spends $136 per month on paid services. Streaming, apps, forgotten free trials. None are evil, but forgotten subscriptions are silent bills. So pull your last 90 days, circle every subscription, then ask, is this still earning its place? What this means for you: you don't need to become cheap, you need to become harder to quietly overcharge. Number 1, frees up the cash. But here's the problem. If you free up $100 a month and it just disappears into random spending, you're still treading water. Number 2 is where that breathing room starts working harder. And most Australians don't know which side of the tax system they're on. Number 2, use the tax system before it uses you. This is where Australians can leave serious money on the table. And to be clear, this is general education, not personal financial advice. Tax and super depend on your income, debt, age, goals, and whether you need access to the money before retirement. But the rules matter. Because Australia's tax system rewards certain behaviours. One of the biggest is concessional super contributions. That just means before-tax super contributions. Employer super counts, salary sacrifice counts, personal deductible contributions can count too. For 2026 to 27, the concessional cap is $32,500. These contributions are generally taxed inside super at 15%, instead of being taxed at your personal marginal tax rate. Here's why that matters. If you're in the 30% tax bracket, plus the 2% Medicare levy, Every extra $100 of income can lose about $32 to tax before it hits your bank account. But if that $100 goes into super as a concessional contribution, it is generally taxed at 15%. So instead of keeping about $68, your super receives about $85 after contributions tax. That's roughly $17 per $100 that stays in your system before your super even invests it. Now, that does not mean everyone should dump money into super. Super is locked away until you meet a condition of release. So if you need cash for a house deposit, emergency fund, debt, or family costs, locking money away might not suit. But the lever is real. Wealthy Australians don't just ask, "How much did I earn?" They ask, "How is it taxed?" Second tax lever, the super co-contribution. For 2026 to 27, if your income is under the upper threshold of $64,293 and you make an eligible after-tax super contribution, you may receive a government co-contribution of up to $500. The full amount generally applies under the lower threshold of $49,293, then phases down as income rises. Again, eligibility matters, but this is one of those quiet rules many people miss. You put in after-tax money. If eligible, the government adds extra. Not a loan, not a gimmick, a super rule. Third lever, carry forward concessional contributions. If your total super balance was under $500,000 at the 30th of June of the previous financial year, you may be able to use unused concessional cap amounts from up to the previous 5 financial years. This can matter if your income has been uneven. Maybe you had time off work. Maybe you were raising kids. Maybe you just never used the full cap. But don't guess it. Check MyGov. Your ATO-linked account can show your unused concessional cap amounts. What this means for you. The tax system is not just something that takes money out. Sometimes it gives you legal pathways to keep more of what you earn. But you have to know where the levers are. Number 1 gives you breathing room. Number 2 helps you keep more of what you earn. But there's one final problem. Saving money alone does not build wealth if the money just sits there losing buying power. That's where number 3 changes the game. Number 3, automate the difference into something that grows. This is the shift. Most cost of living advice stops at defense. Compare your bills. Cancel unused subscriptions. Spend less. Useful? Yes. Enough? No. Because you cannot shrink your way to wealth forever. At some point, money has to work while you're busy living. And this is where cash can trick people. Cash feels safe. And for emergency funds, upcoming bills, and short-term goals, cash is important. But cash earning almost nothing while inflation is running at 4.0% is losing buying power in real terms. That does not mean invest every dollar. Please don't. It means give each dollar a job. Emergency fund? Cash. Upcoming bills? Cash. Short-term goals? Probably cash. Long-term wealth? That money likely needs growth assets. For everyday Australians, one of the lowest friction starting points is ETFs. An ETF is just a basket of investments you can buy in one trade. Instead of trying to pick one winning company, you can buy a fund that holds hundreds of companies. That solves the eggs in one basket problem in one click. And broad index ETFs can be very low cost. For example, a 200 lists a management fee and cost of 0.04% per year, while Vanguard's VAS lists a management fee of 0.07% per year. That does not mean those ETFs are automatically right for everyone. Fees are only one part of the decision. You still need to understand risk, time horizon, diversification, tax, brokerage, and whether you can handle your balance falling during market drops. But the point is simple. You do not need to become a stock-picking genius. You need a system you can actually stick with. So, take the money from number 1, the leaks you fixed. Maybe it's $30 a week. Maybe it's $80. Maybe it's $200. Then take whatever tax strategy from number 2 actually fits your situation. And automate the difference. Weekly, fortnightly, monthly. The amount matters less than the habit at the start, because automation removes the biggest problem in personal finance, you. Not because you're bad with money, because life gets busy, kids get sick, work gets stressful, bills arrive, cars need repairs, rent goes up, the dog eats something weird and suddenly you're at the vet. If investing only happens when life is calm, it won't happen often. Automation keeps moving when motivation disappears. So the full framework is simple. Fix the leaks, use the tax system, automate the difference. That's how you move from defense to offense. Not overnight, not magically, but systematically. The cost of living probably isn't going back to 2019. The cheap rent isn't coming back. The $3.80 flat white probably isn't coming back. And waiting for life to feel easy again is not a plan. But the system is not random. There are levers. You can stop silent bills from draining your account. You can learn which tax rules actually apply to you. You can automate small amounts before life absorbs them. That does not mean becoming rich this week. It means becoming the kind of person who knows how to start. And right now, a system beats hope.